Ms. Nonima Tikela, welcome to my YouTube channel. So let's continue talking about the evidence of the testimony of Bongani Ntanzi, his first day taking the witness box while he's trying to defend his life, fighting for his life in that courtroom of Chadrata Mokgatleng. What we discovered is that everything that happened there, as painful as it is, it was not a confusion. This is a constructed arrest of Bongani Ntanzi. And this happened on the 16th of June, 2020. That is when his life dramatically changed, painfully changed, and everything went south for him. Like where he is inside, he is deep inside the mine shaft. And we don't know how he is going to get out. But we are hoping that with his evidence, everything will work out for the better for him. Now, what you are about to hear is not a story of confusion. It is a story of police brutality. It is a story of police brutality, and it is certainly not a story of a lawful policing. What you are about to hear is a constructed arrest, retrofitted to survive scrutiny, and collapsing the moment you slow it down. This is the testimony, and this is why it matters. Let's get into this. Now, the witness, Bongani Ntanzi, begins with uncertainty. Ne? He says he was asleep at home. He cannot recall the time. Not the hour, not even an estimate. Why? Because it was cold, it was winter, and it was June, because the sun sets very early in June. This is the first thing that you understand. Why are they moving at night? Why are they moving at night? Why are they moving at night? Okay, now let's talk about Bongani Ntanzi, the wrong man who somehow becomes the right one, according to the police. There is a knock at his door. Okay, there is a knock in the flats that he was staying in. Eventually, it comes to him. No, not one knock, but a series of knocks, because they were doing looking for him. Open. That's what he was hearing them saying. The witness opens the door when the knock reaches his door. Two men entered. He says the first is Mabena, the second follows behind it was Mokgane. Then the moment that should have ended everything, they say, "Yay, Sianda." He's like, "I'm not Sianda." He responds and says, "I'm not Sianda." And then there's a back and forth there. There's a back and forth there, because this is where lawful policing dies. If police arrive at the wrong person, everything that follows must stop until identity is confirmed. But that is not what happened here. Instead, they argue that you are Sianda by force. They instruct him to go outside. They bring him back inside. He gives them the ID book to show them that this is not Sianda. Look at my names. This is my ID book. And when the ID confirms he is not Sianda, nothing stops. No apology, no withdrawal, no correction. The arrest continues. That is not confusion. That is intentional. There was an intent there. So they know what they went there to do. Now, watch how Ubongani Ntanzi, now, when all of this happening, I'm sure there was confusion in his mind, because what on earth? What is this? I'm sure he remembered the lady that called him. I'm sure he remembered the lady that called him. And that was I'm sure that was one of the saddest moments of his life. That was one of the saddest moments of his life. And then now, the ID is taken by the police, the phones are taken, no warrant, no explanation, no inventory, no charge. Zibuze again, ask yourself, if the identity was mistaken, on what legal basis are phones seized? There is none, most, because this is not Sianda. You people are looking for Sianda. This is not evidence gathering. This is fishing, of course. This is fishing. Now, a lot happens. He ends up seeing himself going. They take him to where? To Pukeng police station. Then comes one moment of the most dangerous moment in the entire testimony that he gave. A phone is opened. That was Mogane's phone, not in an identification parade. No, not with safeguards. No, not with warnings. No, just photos in Mogane's phone. Gold teeth, tattoos. You are at 28. Hey, it was a lot. This is a catastrophic for the state, because once a witness is shown photos like this, any future identification is irreversibly contaminated. From that moment on, the witness is no longer identifying a person. He is identifying a memory that police planted. And the witness is told to dress. He is handcuffed, and he asks what is happening. He is told, you will talk when we get to where we are going. That sentence matters a lot, because questioning is already underway before rights, before station, before legality. And then comes the assault allegation, a slap because of the questions that he was asking from Mabena. He slaps him across his face. Now introduce exactly where resistance begins. No medical report, no witness, no case number. In court, this does not read as proof. It reads as narrative reinforcement. And that is what Abo Mabena did with uBongani Ntanzi. Now, as they were doing that, he also mentioned Uguti, like in his testimony, he also mentions Uguti, as he was unsure that who were they, he questioned who were they, if they were police, were they not? And then Umugane shows his Tonton certificate, Uguti, I'm a cop, and this other one did not. But suddenly, because Mabena clapped on Ntanzi, a uniformed officer appears. There was a marked vehicles, also police emblem. She saw it. Good eyeball. These are really the police. Now that man came and asked, why is he being beaten? He says they spoke a language that he did not understand, so he can't exactly go into those details. This is what courts call retrofitted legitimacy, because what was this now? When credibility falters, authorities enters the frame. Now, the question that reveals everything, while in the vehicle, still not at the police station, still handcuffed, still without a right, the question is asked, where were you on the day Senzume you died? That question exposes the entire operation. This was never about Siyanda. This was never a mistake. This arrest had a destination before the door was even knocked. They knew what they were doing. And that act is what changed Bongani Ntanzi's life. Now, they arrive at Phokeng Station, but they do not book him in. They do not open a docket. They speak to officers, then they leave again. This is not procedure. This is sanitization. A brief stop to launder an unlawful arrest through the appearance of formality. Now, put this testimony on scale. On one side, no warrant of arrest, no lawful ID parade, no booking, no charge. On the other, perfect recall of incriminating details, early interrogation, photo contamination, and arrest that survives a proven identity mistake. The scale does not balance, it collapses. And at this point, I'm hoping Ntanzi is going to continue bringing his case and fighting for his life. This is not the testimony of a witness caught in confusion. This is the testimony of a process caught in exposure, because how he got arrested was illegal. Every gap points in the same direction. Every inconsistency leans the same way, not toward the truth, but toward construction. And when you slow it down, when you remove the emotion, when you apply law instead of narrative, what remains is not evidence, it is a decay. That is what remains. And the most dangerous thing for any case is not an aggressive defense. It is a slow, careful listening to the state's own witnesses. But right now, we are listening at the defense witness, and you are like, hey, Abo Mukhane. So that is what changed Bongani's life from June 16, 2020. And from that day, he's been living in prison. He lived his life in prison from that day. That is how sad the entire situation became. That is how sad the entire situation became. Ubongan Tanzi is in prison, and this is the 7th year that we are entering. In June, it's going to be 7 years since he was in prison. Ubongan Tanzi. Sad state of affairs. Anyway, what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Do you think he's still doing well? Do you think he can do even better than this? Do you think he needs to be firmer? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.